Imagine a world where the sun was worshipped not just as a star, but as a living god, demanding blood to keep the sky alight. Picture ancient priests, their hands stained with crimson, performing ceremonies so profound they still echo in the dust of forgotten empires. We're about to uncover rituals so bizarre, so powerful, they shaped the very fabric of early human society. Get ready to journey back in time and witness the strange, the sacred, and the utterly unforgettable. What ancient practice do you think was the most mind-boggling? Echoes from the dust, unveiling ancient mysteries. Whispers of forgotten gods and earthly powers, etched into stone and buried beneath millennia of sand. Ancient peoples, driven by the need to understand the world and their place within it, developed rituals that seem utterly alien to us now. These weren't mere superstitions, they were deeply ingrained practices that shaped their societies and their very understanding of life and death. Consider the intricate burial practices of the ancient Egyptians. They believed in a vibrant afterlife and meticulously prepared their dead for this journey. Mummification, a complex process involving the removal of organs and preservation with salts and oils, was just the beginning. They would then wrap the body in hundreds of yards of linen, often inscribing prayers and spells onto the bandages. Grave goods, from everyday tools to precious jewelry and even food, were placed within the tomb, ensuring the deceased had everything they needed in the next world. These tombs were not just resting places, they were designed as eternal homes, complete with miniature statues of servants, called ushabti, ready to perform labor for the deceased in the afterlife. The Maya, in Mesoamerica, practiced a ritual known as bloodletting. This wasn't a punishment, but an act of devotion and a way to communicate with their deities. Elite members of society, kings and nobles, would pierce their tongues, ears, or genitals with obsidian blades or bone awls, allowing their blood to drip onto paper or into sacred vessels. This offering was believed to nourish the gods and maintain cosmic order. They also engaged in human sacrifice, often of captured warriors, to appease deities and ensure prosperity for their communities. These acts, while gruesome to our modern sensibilities, were seen as necessary sacrifices for the greater good. In the heart of the Amazon, some indigenous tribes practiced ritualistic cannibalism, not out of hunger, but as a profound act of respect. When a loved one died, consuming a small portion of their ashes or cremated remains was a way to keep their spirit alive within the community. It was a way to honor their memory and ensure their essence continued to be a part of the family. This practice, known as endocannibalism, was about integration and remembrance, a stark contrast to the revulsion it might inspire today. What do these ancient acts tell us about the human need for connection, even in death? Whispers of the gods, sacred practices, and divine connections. Ancient peoples sought constant communion with the divine. They believed their gods walked among them, influencing every aspect of life, from the harvest to the weather. To ensure favor and understanding, intricate rituals were developed. These weren't mere ceremonies, they were vital dialogues between humanity and the cosmos. Consider the elaborate dance rituals of the Olmec civilization. Priests, adorned in jade and feathers, would perform complex movements believed to mimic the patterns of the stars. They believed these dances could appease celestial deities, ensuring the sun would rise and the rains would fall. The rhythmic drumming and chanting were thought to open a pathway for divine messages to descend, guiding their leaders and protecting their people. It was a physical manifestation of their spiritual beliefs, a way to actively participate in the cosmic order. In ancient Egypt, the daily ritual of the pharaoh tending to a statue of a god was paramount. This wasn't a symbolic gesture, it was a sacred duty. The pharaoh, seen as a divine intermediary, would wake the god, wash it, dress it in fine linen, and offer it food and incense. This act reinforced the belief that the gods were living beings who required sustenance and care, and that their well-being was directly tied to the prosperity of Egypt. The meticulousness of these offerings demonstrated the Egyptians' deep respect and their understanding of the delicate balance required to maintain cosmic harmony. The Maya, too, had profound ways of connecting. Bloodletting was a common practice, not for punishment, but for devotion. Both rulers and commoners would pierce their tongues or earlobes, letting their blood fall onto sacred texts or into specially prepared bowls. This precious offering was believed to nourish the gods and the earth, generating spiritual energy and ensuring the continuation of the world. It was a deeply personal sacrifice, a tangible expression of their faith and their willingness to give their very life force to appease and honor the divine powers. What other ancient practices do you think truly bridged the gap between mortals and the gods? The cycle of life and death, rituals of birth, mating, and burial. In many ancient societies, the very beginning of life was marked with profound rituals. For the Egyptians, a newborn was a gift from the gods, and their arrival was often celebrated with purification ceremonies and offerings. Sometimes, special amulets were placed on the infant to ward off evil spirits and ensure a healthy future. The Maya, too, held birth ceremonies, believing that the child's destiny was intertwined with the cosmic forces, and priests would perform elaborate rituals to understand and guide this path. The continuation of the lineage was equally sacred. Mating rituals varied greatly, often reflecting the societal structure and beliefs about fertility. In some cultures, these unions were blessed by deities associated with love and procreation, with elaborate feasts and dances celebrating the new bond. The Hittites, for instance, had specific religious ceremonies to sanctify marriages, ensuring the couple's ability to produce strong offspring and uphold family traditions. These weren't just personal unions, they were vital for the community's survival and prosperity. When life's journey concluded, the transition to the afterlife was a momentous occasion, deeply embedded in ritual. Burial practices were perhaps the most elaborate, reflecting a civilization's understanding of death and the spirit world. The Mesopotamians, for example, often buried their dead with grave goods, tools, food, and even cherished possessions, believing these items would be necessary in the next life. Some cultures practiced elaborate mummification, like the ancient Peruvians, who preserved their loved ones' bodies meticulously, seeing death not as an end, but as a transformation. These final rites were crucial for ensuring the deceased found peace and for maintaining a connection between the living and the departed. What do you think was the most important aspect of these ancient life cycle rituals? Power and prophecy, rituals of governance and the supernatural. In ancient lands, rulers didn't just command armies, they sought wisdom from the unseen. Kings and queens would consult oracles, their pronouncements shaping the destiny of nations. Imagine a high priestess, eyes glazed, speaking words that would determine war or peace, prosperity or famine. These weren't mere suggestions, they were divine mandates. Some leaders would undertake arduous journeys to sacred sites, performing elaborate ceremonies to commune with gods or ancestral spirits. These rituals were not just for personal guidance, but were deeply intertwined with the legitimacy of their rule. A successful ritual could solidify their power, while a perceived failure might invite rebellion or divine disfavor. The very fabric of society depended on these supernatural connections. Consider the practice of divination through animal entrails or the flight of birds. Priests would meticulously examine these signs, interpreting them as messages from the cosmos. The fate of a harvest, the outcome of a battle, even the succession of the throne, could hinge on the interpretation of a particular pattern or anomaly. This gave immense power to those who could claim to understand the divine will. What unspoken powers do leaders today still seek to harness? From the sun-baked sands of Egypt to the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, these ancient practices remind us that humanity's quest for meaning has always been a wild and wonderful journey. Whether seeking favor from the gods, warding off evil, or celebrating life's milestones, these rituals shaped the very fabric of their worlds. Which of these strange traditions surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Next time, we'll delve into the secrets of forgotten languages. How did ancient peoples communicate in ways we can barely imagine?